The world is full of professions that seem ordinary, safe, or even routine, but in reality, they hide serious and often deadly risks. In this video, we've gathered data from all over the world and compiled a ranking of the most dangerous professions based on the number of deaths. From loggers deep in remote forests to fishermen in the open sea, from small aircraft pilots to people working at extreme heights or with high voltage electricity, these are jobs where facing real danger is part of the daily routine. Their work may look familiar, but the statistics tell a different story. Death rates in these professions are dozens of times higher than in office jobs or standard industries, and this pattern repeats year after year. We'll go through the most dangerous professions and break down what exactly makes them so deadly. Our ranking opens with firefighters. It might seem that few professions can match them in terms of risk, yet they only take the 10th place. Their job is to walk into fire every single day, fire that doesn't care whether a person is ready and never forgives mistakes. This isn't a movie and not special effects. It's real fire, smoke explosions, collapsing structures, and every call can potentially be the last. It all starts with an alarm. Sometimes it's morning, sometimes night, sometimes the middle of a holiday. A firefighter never knows what's waiting. A regular apartment, a burning warehouse, a forest fire, a gas explosion. Each situation demands instant reaction, strength, and absolute composure. On site, they face extreme heat, thick smoke, toxic gases, collapsing buildings, and constant pressure that never lets go. One of the greatest dangers is the combination of unpredictability and intense physical strain. Fire doesn't follow rules. It moves where resistance is weakest, changes direction, and can suddenly cut off escape routes. Smoke blinds you. Breathing becomes impossible. Breathing gear helps, but never completely. In the heat of the fight, a single mistake, exhaustion, or wrong decision can cost not only the firefighter's life, but also the lives of those they're trying to save. The statistics are harsh. On average, about 14-20 firefighters die per 100,000 every year, and these are only official numbers. The real figures can be higher when accidents during emergency responses and long-term toxic exposure are taken into account. Even modern equipment and technology don't make the profession safe. They only increase the chances of survival. Firefighters are trained, disciplined, and know their procedures. But fire and collapsing buildings don't follow any rules, and a single moment of delay can be fatal. A sudden flashover, a wrong command, or a collapsing roof can change everything in seconds. Yet people continue to answer the call. Because someone has to save lives. Because somewhere in a building, in a forest, or in a hospital, there are people whose lives depend on their actions. Because firefighters know their job is bigger than fear, and that taking risks is part of the profession. It's important to remember, firefighters are not movie superheroes and not thrill seekers chasing adrenaline. They are ordinary people who face fire, destruction, and death every day, and still do their job. Every call is a balance of skill, focus, and courage, just enough to survive and to save others. In 9th place, firmly holding their position, are high-voltage power line workers, because they work with an invisible yet deadly force, electricity, not chainsaws and not falling trees, but electric current that passes through the human body in fractions of a second and leaves no chance of survival. Their workday begins with climbing poles, towers, and power lines, often dozens of meters above the ground. All they have with them is their tools, protective gear, and the understanding that a single mistake could be their last. A power line is not just a wire. It carries thousands of volts, hidden from sight and ready to kill at any moment. They work in all conditions. Heat, snow, wind, freezing cold. No weather scares a line worker more than an electric arc. Sometimes they must balance on a small platform or hang in a lift, working with live wires at the same time, securing them and checking connections. Every movement has to be precise. A single tremor or slip can be fatal. What people see is insulation and assume safety, forgetting that a short circuit, moisture, or a colleague's mistake can instantly turn the job into a deadly trap. Electricity doesn't wait for you to double-check your tools. It gives no second chances. In that sense, every shift is a gamble. Many accidents happen silently. No screams, no explosions. Just one contact and the heart stops instantly while the body falls from the height or remains hanging on the line. Help often doesn't arrive in time. Whether on the ground or tens of meters above it, resuscitation is usually useless. Around 18 to 20 high-voltage line workers die per 100,000 each year. This makes it one of the deadliest professions in the world. And the number remains stable despite modern technology, strict regulations, and protective equipment. Electricity is always unpredictable and never forgives mistakes. The most dangerous thing is trust and experience. A line worker knows the seams, understands the equipment, is used to the height, the tools, the wires, but 1 second of inattention, one wrong detail. And professionalism no longer matters. Physics and electricity don't care who is standing in front of them. Yet people keep going back up the lines. Maybe because the pay is good, maybe for the sense of challenge, maybe for other reasons. But one thing is certain: electricity reaches homes, hospitals, and schools because ordinary workers face a force that can kill instantly. And every working day is a bet on knowledge, experience, and self-control. Eighth place rightfully belongs to miners. This is a job against the very environment a human is never meant to be in. Underground, there is no natural light, no air in the usual sense, and no quick way out if something goes wrong. A miner's workday begins with the descent, sometimes hundreds of meters down, sometimes even deeper. With every minute, the possibility of getting back to the surface becomes smaller, while the number of deadly risks around grows. Rock overhead, gas in the air, heavy machinery in narrow tunnels, and the constant feeling that the ground itself can behave unpredictably at any moment. A mine is not a static place. It is constantly breathing. Rock shifts, pressure changes, microcracks grow, water seeps in. What looks solid in the morning can collapse by evening, and most cave-ins happen without warning. One moment the ceiling exists, the next it doesn't. Gas is a separate and deadly threat. Methane has no smell and can't be seen. It builds up silently and explodes instantly. One spark, one equipment failure, and an explosion tears through everything in its path. Even if a miner isn't hit by the flames, suffocation and the shockwave often finish the job. Then there is coal and rock dust. It fills the lungs, slowly and invisibly destroying the body. Many miners don't die during a shift, but pay for years underground with a shortened life. Respiratory diseases, heart problems, joint damage. These are part of the profession, rarely talked about out loud. When an accident happens in a mine, time is measured not in minutes, but in hours and days. Narrow tunnels, collapses, loss of communication. Rescue teams may take a long time to reach trapped workers, sometimes too long, sometimes with no hope left at all. Every year, more than 20 miners die per 100,000 workers. The numbers vary by country, but the reality remains the same. And these are only official statistics, not counting those who die later from occupational diseases. The hardest part is the awareness of being trapped. Underground, there is no way to move aside, only forward or back through a narrow tunnel, and if that tunnel collapses, options almost disappear. This psychological pressure can break a person just as much as the physical danger. Yet people keep going down, because mines build entire towns, because this work is often passed down through generations, because in many places, there simply is no other choice. Many miners know they are entering an environment where risk is built into every meter, and still they do it day after day. At first glance, the work of farmers and agricultural workers looks like a romantic life outdoors, surrounded by fields and animals. But in reality, every day on a farm is a balance between machinery, animals, chemicals, and nature, where a single mistake can be deadly. Seventh place in the ranking belongs to farmers. The workday begins at sunrise and rarely ends before dark. Tractors, combines, harvesters, plows, lifting equipment, all of it is heavy machinery that demands constant focus. Every tool and every movement can result in serious injury. A tractor rolls over, a combine pulls in a leg, a mechanism suddenly engages, and the consequences are often immediate and fatal. Animals are a separate danger. Cows, bulls, horses, and pigs can be unpredictable. They push, kick, charge, and in tight pens or on slippery ground, this becomes especially dangerous. Add chemicals to the mix: fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides. And improper handling can poison the body, cause burns, and lead to long-term chronic illnesses. Weather conditions make the job even more hazardous. Ice, rain, heat, wind, all of it affects machinery, animals, traction, and stability. Fatigue and long working hours significantly increase the risk of mistakes. Someone used to farm work often underestimates the danger of routine actions, and that's exactly how many accidents happen. The statistics are brutal. On average, 20 to 26 farmers and agricultural workers die per 100,000 each year. This is one of the highest fatality rates among all professions, especially when accounting not only for machinery accidents, but also animal-related injuries, falls, poisonings, and chronic illnesses accumulated over years. The most dangerous part is the illusion of safety. A farmer knows their land, their animals, their equipment. It feels like everything is under control. But one moment of inattention, a slippery surface, or an unpredictable animal is enough to turn an ordinary workday into a tragedy. And yet, Farming is not just risk, it's life and livelihood for millions of people. Without farmers, there would be no food, no fuel, no raw materials. Someone has to take these risks every day so the world around us can remain stable and familiar. Farmers are not a romantic image of rural life. They are people who face machinery, animals, weather, and chemicals every single day. And every day on the farm is a bet on experience, caution, and the ability to anticipate danger, without which the consequences can be fatal. In sixth place, surprisingly, garbage collectors. At first glance, it looks like a simple job. Pick up a bag, throw it into the truck, move on. But in reality, every day is a chain of hidden dangers, where a single mistake can cost a life. There's no fire, no cave-ins, no extreme heights, yet the risk is just as real and everywhere. The workday starts early in the morning and often lasts until evening. Trucks rumble loudly, streets are narrow, cars and pedestrians are all around, and there's very little time to react. A garbage truck is a massive machine, dozens of tons of metal in containers. Sometimes a worker has to jump on or off the step to clear space, lift a bag, or secure a container. One wrong move, and they can end up under the wheels. The main threat is movement and machinery. Garbage trucks have blind spots, cables, hydraulic systems lifting containers, and powerful waste compacting mechanisms. Even a small mistake can lead to crushing injuries. On top of that, the job must be done in all weather conditions. Rain, snow, ice, slippery sidewalks, fog. Every movement requires full attention. Many accidents happen quietly. No loud explosions, no fire, just a brief moment of inattention. A worker slips, gets caught in a mechanism, or steps into the path of the truck, and in that moment, no one has time to react. There's also another overlooked danger. Many people treat trash carelessly, throwing away anything they want, including chemically hazardous substances. These can get on a worker's skin, into their eyes, or into their lungs. It may not be a nerve agent, but the consequences can still be severe. On average, between 22 and 34 garbage collectors die per 100,000 workers each year, and these are only official figures. Add chronic illnesses, exhaustion, and working the body to its limits, and the picture becomes even more grim. In terms of risk, this profession surpasses many others that seem far more heroic at first glance. Speed, heavy machinery, and fatigue don't forgive mistakes. Even an experienced worker is never fully protected from sudden tragedy, and yet, garbage still has to be collected. Cities need to stay clean, and waste must be processed. Someone has to take these risks so others can live in a normal, comfortable environment. Unfortunately, in many countries, this profession is undervalued and disrespected, but garbage collectors are not just people with trash bags. They are workers who balance every day between attention, machinery, and hidden danger, and every shift is a bet on caution, skill, and experience, without which the consequences can be deadly. Truck drivers took fifth place, although at first glance it seems like they are just sitting behind the wheel. In reality, every day on the road is a game with hundreds, sometimes thousands, of other road users, with speed, weather, and fatigue, all of which can turn into tragedy in an instant. No trees fall, no fire burns, no electricity shocks, yet risk is everywhere. A driver's workday starts early and often doesn't end in the evening. Hours behind the wheel, kilometers of highway, monotony, fatigue. Sometimes the roads are icy, sometimes there is heavy rain or snow, sometimes strong wind shakes the truck. Long-haul trips can last a day or two, sometimes without sleep, without stops, under constant tension. Every moment demands full concentration. The main threat is speed, mass, and the inability to react instantly. A truck weighs tens of tons, the braking distance is enormous, and any emergency requires precise calculation. One wrong move, a shifted load, loss of control on a slippery road, and the consequences are often fatal. Add tired eyes, nighttime darkness, overtaking on narrow roads, and rushing to keep the schedule, and the situation becomes even more dangerous. Many accidents happen alone. The driver loses control, veers off the road, the cargo overturns, and there's no help nearby. Even if other vehicles are around, rescue can take minutes that decide everything. Often accidents occur in remote areas where there is no signal, and the nearest help is tens of kilometers away. On average, about 30-35 drivers per 100,000 die each year. The most insidious danger is habit and overconfidence. A driver knows the route, knows the vehicle, has years of experience, but the danger remains invisible. It can strike at any second, on any stretch of road, and experience alone won't save you. So, when you receive your next package from a delivery point, Remember that someone is risking their life to transport goods, keep supply chains running, feed cities, deliver materials and food. That's why someone has to be on the road while everyone else is at home. Fourth place, high-rise construction workers and roofers. Where most people feel fear, for them a normal workday begins. The ground is always somewhere far below, and any wrong move instantly turns into a fall. A high-rise worker's workplace is an edge. The edge of a roof, the edge of a floor slab, the edge of a construction frame. Around them, wind, concrete, metal, and empty space. They have to work standing on scaffolding, beams, suspended platforms, or hanging from ropes. Sometimes tens of meters above the ground, sometimes even higher. Height is dangerous not only because of falls. Wind can sway them, throw off their balance, make structures vibrate. Tools can slip from their hands. Materials can fall. Even a small object dropped from height becomes a deadly projectile for both the worker and anyone below. A special risk is fatigue. High-altitude work is rarely short. Hours of standing under tension, constantly maintaining balance, working with your hands. Muscles tire, attention dulls, movements become less precise. It is in these moments that slips, falls, and mistakes happen. On construction sites, this is compounded by chaos. Multiple crews, noise, machinery, crane operations, moving materials. A high-rise worker depends not only on themselves but also on dozens of others. Someone else's mistake, a poorly secured element, or rushing can cost them their life. The statistics are harsh. Between 20 and 50 workers per 100,000 in high-rise construction die each year. Falls from height are the leading cause of death on construction sites worldwide. And this is despite helmets, safety harnesses, regulations, and instructions. The most insidious danger is habituation. After some time, height stops frightening. You get the feeling that you are in control, that nothing will happen to me. And it is this very feeling that often leads to accidents. Physics does not care about experience. It works the same for everyone. Yet people continue to work at heights. Because cities grow upward. Because someone has to clean facades, install structures, repair bridges and skyscrapers. Because the work pays, and sometimes there simply is no alternative. It's important to remember, high-rise workers and industrial climbers are not seeking thrills. They are simply doing their job where humans are not naturally meant to be. And every workday is a delicate balance between skill, attention, and avoiding that one extra step that could be fatal. Third place, helicopter and small aircraft pilots, not commanders of passenger airliners, not pilots with autopilot and air traffic controllers in constant contact. These are the pilots who fly low, far, and often in bad weather. Their workday does not start in a cozy airport terminal, but at a small airfield, a helipad, or right in the middle of nowhere. Mountains, taiga, sea, oil rigs, power lines, rescue missions, places where regular aviation doesn't even attempt to go. Small aircraft and helicopters operate where there is no margin for altitude. Mistakes here leave no time for correction. If a large airplane has seconds, sometimes even minutes, to react, a helicopter often has only one option: fall. A helicopter is a complex and capricious machine. It stays in the air thanks to multiple rotating components, each of which must function perfectly. The failure of even one element can instantly turn a flight into an uncontrollable descent. Unlike an airplane, a helicopter cannot simply glide to the ground. Another risk is height, or rather, the lack of it. Small aircraft pilots fly low, over forests, mountains, water, buildings. They land on limited spaces, rooftops, decks, uneven ground, often in wind, fog, rain, or snow, sometimes at night. Sometimes they cannot refuse because it's an evacuation, a delivery, or paid work. The most dangerous flights are rescue, oil, and cargo missions, landing on offshore platforms, mountain flights, transporting people in bad weather, where a single gust of wind can push the aircraft off course, and a miscalculation can end in disaster. Many accidents follow the same pattern: a sharp maneuver, loss of stability, impact with the ground or water. Everything happens fast, so fast that the pilot often does not even realize what went wrong. The statistics leave no room for romanticism. About 35 to 50 pilots per 100,000 in small aviation and helicopters die each year. This is one of the highest rates among all technical professions, far higher than for passenger airplane pilots. And these are not rare catastrophes, but constant individual accidents that rarely make the news. The most insidious danger is the sense of control. Pilots undergo rigorous training, know their aircraft, know the risks, but confidence and experience sometimes misleads them. The weather seems still manageable. The landing feels almost normal. The decision seems generally acceptable. And aviation does not forgive mistakes. Yet people still enter this profession because they love to fly, because it's a rare skill, because without them, people would not be rescued, delivered, or evacuated, because someone has to fly where others cannot. It's important to understand one thing. Helicopter and small aircraft pilots are not the glossy aviation heroes from movies. These are people who start every flight knowing their margin for error is minimal. Each time they take off, they rely not on adrenaline, but on precise calculations, experience, and luck. When you see a helicopter over mountains, the sea, or a city, it is almost never a joyride or a show. It is someone's work on the edge of possibility. And sometimes the price of this work is tragically high. Next on our risk list are fishermen, not the ones sitting with a fishing rod on the ice, those who go out to sea to catch fish. Their workday is dictated not by sunrise, but by the weather forecast. Wind, waves, pressure, these determine whether they make it home today or not. No offices, no warm rooms, only the sea, cold, dampness, and a vessel that constantly rocks and takes on water. Fishermen usually work far from shore, often at night, often for 16 to 20 hours straight, without proper sleep, pushed to the limit, and if something goes wrong, there's no help to be had. In the open sea, there are no ambulances, no firefighters, no neighbors. There's only you, your crew, and the ocean. And the ocean isn't just water, it's a mass weighing millions of tons, constantly in motion. A wave can sweep across the deck, knock a person off their feet, drag them overboard, smash them against the vessel's own mechanisms. If a fisherman falls into cold water, the countdown is measured not in hours, but in minutes. At around 0 degrees Celsius, a person loses strength almost immediately. Consciousness follows shortly after. And even if they are noticed, pulling someone back onto the vessel during a storm is nearly impossible. Another danger is the gear and equipment. Fishing nets weigh hundreds of kilograms. Winches, cables, hooks, drums are constantly in motion. One clumsy move, and a person can be pulled into machinery, crushed against the hull, or struck by a metal cable. Many fatal accidents look deceptively simple. Not a storm, not a shipwreck, just a moment of inattention. A person can fall overboard at night, get caught under a wave, get tangled in nets. The most terrifying part is that the sound of the waves drowns out other noises, and if the crew didn't see it happen, sometimes it takes minutes or hours to realize someone is missing. And sometimes it's too late. The sea does not give back. Statistically, 50 to 75 fishermen per 100,000 die at sea each year. These are not spikes. They are steady numbers year after year, yet people still go out to sea. If you were to line up dangerous professions by level of risk, lumberjacks would come first. Not firefighters, not military personnel, not pilots, but people who go into the forest every day with a chainsaw. What their typical workday looks like. No sirens, no rescue helicopters nearby. Only the forest, cold, dampness, and machinery. Lumberjacks usually work in remote areas, often alone or in small teams, far from hospitals, in any weather. And if something goes wrong, help may take an hour or more to arrive. Often, it simply doesn't make it in time. A tree can weigh several tons. It is under tension, branches, trunk, roots. When a lumberjack makes a cut, they aren't just felling a tree. They are disturbing the balance of a giant structure that can behave unpredictably. A tree may fall in the wrong direction, split, bounce off a neighboring trunk, or hit with a branch the worker didn't even see. Very often, fatal injuries don't occur from the fall itself, but from a sudden strike by a branch or splinter. The chainsaw is a separate threat. It's not just a tool. It spins at tremendous speed, can kick back unexpectedly, and snag on a knot. The so-called kickback is one of the most frequent causes of death. The saw can literally jerk out of the hands and strike the head, neck, or chest. Even protective gear does not always save the worker. The most terrifying danger is the silent death effect. It happens like this. A person is injured, loses consciousness, and bleeds out or freezes. Not because the injury was instantly fatal, but because no one was nearby. The forest is not a city. There are no passers-by, cameras, or ambulances. The statistics are chilling. About 100 deaths per 100,000 lumberjacks per year. That's dozens of times higher than for office workers, higher than for police officers, higher than for firefighters. And what's important? This is a stable statistic year after year. Technology improves, but the risk remains. Yet people still go into the forest. Reasons vary. The only job available in the region, good pay, a family profession. I've been doing this all my life, and, of course, the total confidence that nothing will happen to them. Many lumberjacks know the statistics and still go out for their shift. What's important to understand, a lumberjack is not a muscle-bound actor from an advertisement with a chainsaw. They are ordinary people who wake up early, work in cold and mud, and risk their lives every day, not for adrenaline, but for a paycheck. When you see a wooden house, furniture, or paper, there is almost always someone's dangerous work behind it. Lumberjacks are people who pay for our everyday comforts with real risk to their lives. Behind every statistic are real people and real stories. These professions are not about adrenaline or movie-like heroics. They are about daily risk, skill, and discipline, without which life can end in an instant. When you see furniture, food, electricity, or tall buildings, behind all of it is someone's work on the edge of danger. Remember that behind everyday comfort always lies the labor of those who risk their lives every day, and it is thanks to them that our world functions, despite all the threats.